All right, good afternoon, everybody. We're about to enter the final hour of trade. This is event trader Gavin McGuire, and I'm being joined right now by Robert Reed, who, of course, is our senior analyst over on Briefing and Play Plus side. And a lot of you will know Robert from all his ideas on the GROWX and yield names that he's always discussing and writing about. He also does a lot of the BIP write-ups that you might see on follow-ups on certain news items that I really recommend people to check out, especially if you have a horse in that race with the names that are being discussed. But Robert, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Great.
Got a lot of fans last week, of course, with your Roku call, and I think it's fair to say, I mean, obviously a great call, but for the most part, you're not looking for those quick hitters at all. You're looking for longer-term swing plays, so obviously it was nice to see a nice 30% run-up out of the gates on that Roku, so kudos to you on that one.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, definitely. I'm definitely not a short-term trader. Like, basically, I'll leave that up to the trader team, and you guys do a great job with those things. Yeah, I'm more of a, obviously I just look for more buy and hold ideas that are, good stories, and they might even, go through a few earnings periods, or not necessarily, I don't know what the stock's going to do tomorrow, but I do kind of, what I'm good at is kind of just digging deep into a story and, hopefully it's a good play over a year, maybe possibly longer. And then today, just as long as we're speaking about this, the Emerging Growth report, which we publish every Monday, is a good. In case people aren't familiar with it, it's a great resource. I use it for coming up with ideas that I publish on the site, and basically it looks for stocks that have good. It's a proprietary scan of a lot of different growth parameters, and for earnings, a good relative strength of the stock, stuff like that. So it's really good for that. And then just want to quickly mention, we also on Fridays we do this yield leaders report, which I really like a lot. Basically, what it does is it looks for stocks that have a lot of insider, like a lot of share repurchases and or dividends. So basically, it's a shareholder yield idea. So it's some really good names in there that I like. They tend to do quite well over time. So I do like, those are just, if you want to keep track of those, make sure that you set up your email alerts for GROWX for emerging growth, and then yield is the yield leaders report that comes out on Fridays. So.
All right, good stuff. And the nice thing about that, too, is it's two kind of divergent strategies, really, right? I mean, you got your yield, like you're saying, which is, I suppose, more of a value play type, and then you got your GROWX names for the growth side. So
that's true.
A little bit of everything for everyone out there. And certainly your Roku got a lot of attention from the sub base, but this Amfaster Pharma is looking nice, too, AMPH. That's up about 10% from your mention as well. So got to point that one out, and then just taking a quick look at Grubhub. Grubhub, it's higher. I mean, it's bouncing up. It's running against that 50-day, but three nice plays that Robert's laid out for us, and that's really the key thing here. As you said, I don't think you could be expecting 30% returns all the time, but I mean, hey, never hurts to get some of them. And this is really for idea generation, and again, a little bit longer term swing and holds for the most part. And with that, Robert, you got two other names that you're looking at for this week that we're going to highlight for people. One of them was actually based off of a feedback question from one of our users from last week, and that is Duluth Trading, ticker symbol DLTH. You want to break that down a little bit for us?
Yeah, you're probably familiar with it. You probably have seen the commercials. It's the with the animated, usually a little overweight guy, and they show him in a wrench and basically showing you what normal underwear feels like and what the Duluth Trading feels like. Obviously, they do a lot more than that. They do a lot of workwear. It's really a popular brand among like tradesmen and things like that. But what Duluth is doing, they're branching out beyond just tradesmen. They're kind of just trying to get to the that's definitely their core customer, but they are branching out just sort of like the general everyday person. They're even trying to get into workwear for like on the business side. So basically, they want to make just comfortable clothing for a lot of different people. And two catalysts are out there that I think are going to be good for the stock. One is that originally Duluth was almost exclusively online. They might have had like maybe under 5 stores or less. When we started following the company, when they did their IPO a few years ago, they only had single digits in terms of stores, and they're just getting off the ground. They've really picked up the pace the last few years. They've gone from they ended fiscal 16 with 16 stores, and then fiscal 17 they ended at 31 stores, and then fiscal 18 they ended at 46 stores, another 15 stores. So they're really stepping on the gas in terms of opening up stores. So that's going to be a nice, tailwind for sales. And what's nice about them is that all their sales are direct. So you will not find any Duluth, any clothing outside of either online or one of their stores.
That's funny that you mentioned that, Robert, because I was having a discussion about a week ago. And a buddy of mine was swearing by the Duluth boxer briefs. He's like, they're the best thing out there and all that. And I went on to Amazon to go see if I could order some, and nothing on the site there. So yeah, that is something that caught my eye just a couple of days ago.
Yeah, I mean, but you'd think like maybe somebody might just buy a bunch of stuff and resell it on Amazon, but I guess. That's really not the case. But the good thing is that
I don't know that anybody is buying used underwear on Amazon.
Well, no, not used, but I'm just saying, like, if you buy a ton of stuff from, what happened with like PetMed Express? They started this advantage thing for dog ticks and fleas, and what vets would start doing is they would buy it directly from them, and they would sell it to PetMed, and then PetMed would sell it on their site, but that's really not happening over here with Duluth. But anyway, the point is that it gives them a lot more control in terms of just the brand itself, and more importantly in terms of the pricing. So you can't you're not going to find it being discounted at TJ Maxx down the road. Everything's going to be sold through the Duluth brand. So the stores is a catalyst, and the other catalyst that I like is they're really getting more into women's wear. It was kind of a category that was just pretty much ignored a few years ago. But now it's up to about 27% of sales in just a matter of a few years. So they're really pushing the women's side of the retail side. So I think that's another potential growth outlet for them. So just overall, I just like I like the story, and I like that the stock has pulled back. I think it's around 24 now, something like that. And I would probably use a stop loss limit around probably around the 1920 area. I wouldn't be holding it. There seemed like there's good support, like in the high teens. I wouldn't hold it. Beyond that, you might just want to cut your losses and maybe get back into it later. But I like it here with the pullback. It was over 30 as recently as late November, so it's down to 24, and I think it's a good play overall. And their biggest quarter of the year is coming up. The January quarter is their biggest of the year, and they will be reporting probably around March 20th or so, something like that. So that might just be something to keep out. On the horizon of hopefully an upcoming catalyst, but we'll see as we get closer.
Yeah, this is one of the later reports. This is typical with the retailers, obviously, as you just mentioned, a January end date there. This is only going to be their third report as a public company, right, Robert?
No, they've been out a few years, I believe. Let me double check.
I think I'm looking at it.
No, I think you're thinking of a different company.
I'm just taking a look at something else, so I apologize for that. Since 2015, it looks like. Yeah. What kind of e-commerce sales do they have? You talked a lot about the brick and mortar side. Do they have a pretty strong digital footprint too for their orders?
Yeah, they do. Actually, the majority of their sales are still they call it direct, which means online, or they do have catalogs also, but online is the primary outlet for that direct segment, and it's still the majority, and that's growing nicely as well. I think their advertising is really effective. It just really catches the eye and kind of makes you laugh, and it seems to be good at driving sales. And also they talk about, like word of mouth is also a good driver for them as well, because it is really good quality stuff. I mean, it is a little more expensive than other, similar types of clothing, but people really love the quality you get with it. So overall, I think it's a good. I like the risk reward where it's at right now.
And do they do any department store sales? I know you had talked a lot about the GROWX, but
not at all.
No department store.
You won't see it in any other store besides Duluth.
So if you're looking at a Macy's earnings, for instance, which obviously had warned, that would really have no read into Duluth. There's really no type of read from the other retailers into Duluth. This is a pretty niche area, wouldn't you say?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say entirely. I mean, just the consumer behavior in general, it will impact Duluth as well. I mean, if people are pulling back on their spending, it is going to hurt, Duluth as well. But I can't really come up with a good comparable where other retailers just like them, and certainly their clothing is not sold anywhere else, so you can't really draw a direct comparison. But so they're kind of a unique animal out there. I think that they're kind of a one-off, but overall, it's I like the risk reward looks good here.
Okay, all right. Next up, we're going to jump. Would you have something else to add?
No, I'm good.
Next up, we're going to kind of jump into a different space here, and we're moving into the telco space, which has been one of my favorite areas over the last year. And we're going to pull up this chart here in a second. But Ciena Corp, Robert, CIEN is the ticker. Beautiful looking chart here. It's pressing up towards 52-week highs this week. You want to break down a little bit what they do?
Yeah, I'll just get into it just quickly. They're a supplier of just basically networking equipment. They sell mostly to telcos. They kind of help, make the network more efficient. They make it so you can, so the companies can monitor their traffic better, stuff like that. So they're good. They're basically just mostly to telcos. But what I like about it is that they're branching into their non-telco business is actually booming right now, and it's nearly 40% of revenue. It's up to 37% now, and the largest part of that are these what's called like web scale customers, which are like internet content providers and data center operators. Basically, they have applications like for search, social media, video, like Netflix, things like that. So these web scale customers like Google, Facebook, Amazon, and so that's becoming a much bigger part of Ciena's business. Everyone thinks of them as strictly a telco play, but that's really not the case. They're really branching into other areas.
Okay, so we have this running here. We've seen revenues accelerate. Just last 3 quarters rose 3.3%, 12% in Q3, and then their Q4, which was the December end period, it rose 19%. So they're already obviously going into 2019. What are some of the key things that you want to be watching for 2019 for Ciena?
Just make sure their bookings remain healthy. Their bookings have been well ahead of their revenue, so that's a good sign that 2019 should be a strong year for them. And also just any discussion they have on, they're actually a play on a couple of other what are called like fiber densification areas. Like 5G is one, obviously, so that's that's going to be a nice tailwind for them as that gets rolled out over the next few years. There's also something called fiber deep, which basically is where providers are getting fiber closer and closer and closer to the end user. That's called fiber deep, which is requiring more equipment, that the kind of equipment that Ciena sells. So they have that behind them, and just overall their results are just really strong. I mean, it's just you look at that stock chart, and you're like, what tech sell-off,
Yeah.
So many tech stocks were sold off in October.
Yeah, telco is one of the few spaces, right?
Yeah.
Would you have any competitors for them too?
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a few, but there's Juniper, there's even Cisco to some extent. I mean, a lot of companies do not just telco; they do like just networking in general, like with servers and things like that. And So Ciena's kind of a little more on the telco side, but they are branching more into on the data center side. They do pretty much get away from enterprise, which is good. Like a lot of those other ones have a lot more enterprise exposure. So Ciena doesn't really have that weighing them down, which is a good thing. It's mainly telco and then web, the web side of it. So that's a good thing for them. But yeah, when I looked into this is also an emerging growth play. Both of these actually are emerging growth stocks. They're both currently members in our rankings, and I saw the chart. I was like, wow, this is just amazing. That they are not. People who know the story, this did not sell off. Yeah. When the whole market sold off, this stock just went higher. So I think it's it's a good play heading into 2019, and it hasn't been a hockey stick move. It's been kind of a slow and gradual increase, which I prefer to see that. Those tend to hold on to their gains better than obviously stocks that jump 50% in a few months, and then they usually pull back. But this one just has kind of gone from 28 up to the mid to high 30s now over the last 5 or 6 months. So I like that chart a lot.
Okay. All right. So they're the two names you have for us today. Is there anything else that's sticking out to you? Any early earnings thoughts, Chap? Obviously, we're going to start breaking in a little bit more to some of the financials next week. But is there any names that you have coming up on your horizon that you're pretty interested in?
Well, not any in the direct near term. I'd have to look at the earnings calendar, see what's coming up, but none that are really jumping out at me. But I did just real quickly just mention the earlier today I posted on Auto Home. It's a Chinese. I do want to talk about the Chinese auto industry. I would be concerned about it. It was basically the first year that the Chinese autos have fallen in 20 years, so that was a big thing. And so I put out a piece earlier. People just want to read it. It's basically just a little bit concerned with that area. But GM was pretty positive on China heading into it. But that's kind of what I've been looking at today.
What ticker would that be under?
ATHM.
ATHM.
Yeah.
Okay. Did that include, like, say, NIO or anything along those lines? The electronic vehicle maker?
No, I didn't put that one in there.
Okay.
I was kind of more focused on ATHM, but it was just when you mentioned earnings, that was just one that just that whole area I'd be a little bit concerned heading into earnings, but overall just the economy generally does make me a little bit nervous heading into these upcoming earnings and overall, and a number of retailers have been kind of not putting up the greatest numbers, and I think a lot of consumers saw their 401ks get hit in the fourth quarter, so they're a little bit nervous about spending. So I think that might have an impact as well. But we'll see.
All right, that sounds good. All right, Robert. Well, as per usual, thanks for joining us. I know people certainly appreciated your Roku play last week. So, again, these are ideas that Robert's providing to you. We'll continue to discuss the trading aspect of it on the trader product, and but I mean, it's idea generation, and for names to unearth that have good stories that might not have come across your radar. So if there's any follow-up questions, definitely let us know. Robert's always here and always happy to answer questions for people whenever they have them. So we're going to try to continue to get him on Fridays and just really put some names in front of you that are making up some interesting trades here. So, Robert, thank you very much for all your help. It's definitely appreciated in the trader community here.
Great, thank you so much. Have a good weekend.
All right, we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.